We're not timed.
Yeah, but I'd like to get home.
Yeah. So we can play Among Us tonight, right?
Sure.
Are we live yet?
Yeah, we're live.
Are we hitting record?
It's time for the Fantasy Football Guys. Two guys who are to fantasy football what the Kardashians are to quantum physics. Here they are, Lyle Conkeel and Kevin Moore, the Fantasy Football Guys.
We had new intros.
Yeah, that's an old intro, actually.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is. We're the Fantasy Football Guys. Lyle. Vin? Yeah, we haven't played that in a while. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's
Probably
funny.
because it's
I don't remember that one. That one, somebody deleted that from my brain.
I don't know. Probably because I just see Kardashians and I move on. But I thought I'd read somewhere that they just celebrated their 20th season somehow. I think they do like.
So my wife binged it one time.
Yeah, on purpose?
Yeah. Like she's into it. She watched like Jersey Shore and stuff like that.
All right.
She just like the binge show. She doesn't really pay attention that much.
They're on.
They're
and
just on, and she's doing stuff, But yeah, I caught glimpses. I don't know how anybody can watch it at all. And listen, I'm not knocking you, man. I watch some dumb stuff too, but it's just horrendous, man. It was so bad.
So my latest binge, and I don't know, maybe this is something I shouldn't admit. I don't know. But I was flipping through what's on Prime Video, and I came across the show Suits.
Oh, dude, great show.
I was like, oh, well, it was on for like 9 seasons or something,
Yeah,
right?
Meghan
So
Markle, yeah.
it must be pretty good. I mean, somebody watched it. Yeah, it was on the USA Network, and what else did
I
they
really
have?
enjoyed Suits.
So I'm deep in it, man. It's like it's Falcon Crest, It's
Yeah.
It's just a soap opera with lawyers, but it's good.
It is good.
And so
It's good. I thoroughly enjoyed it, man. That was Meghan before she was
Meghan Markle
royalty, and then became not royalty.
Yeah,
Again,
it was weird.
because they renounced
I have opinion. My first opinion on that is I don't care. I'm not British.
Right.
My second opinion on that is what the hell. And my third opinion on that is I don't care. I'm not British.
Right. Yeah.
So oh, he's no longer a royal. He will be.
Maybe not. Whatever.
Yeah, his brother will take him back in 10 years, 15 years.
Whatever. I'm not worried about it at all.
Yeah. If they cease to exist, my life would just.
Well, that's horrible, but
No, I'm saying if they were not royals anymore.
right. Well, they're not.
I mean, talking about all of them.
Oh yeah, it's such a stupid system anyway. Not to offend the Brits out there, but
Yeah, I mean, they love the Queen or whatever, but anyway.
I mean, they have to.
Yeah. No, you don't.
Of course.
You have to outwardly at least
Say that
you do.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
wonder if they feel about the royal family the way we feel about like presidents and Congress and stuff.
Probably.
Well, anyway.
I would have to imagine. I mean, maybe not the royals because they're harmless for the most part.
Are they though?
Oh, they don't. I mean,
Prince Andrew seems like he might not be too harmless.
well, I mean, on a. Actually, the opposite of harmless.
Yeah, I don't know.
Dude, I watched the.
It didn't really work out for Princess Di either.
No, it didn't. I watched the thing on Epstein on Netflix.
Yeah.
Just how foul the whole thing was.
Dude, and it's crazy that like he just kept getting away with it.
Money, dude.
Yeah, I guess, man. It's wild what power and money can do for you.
If you can do favors for me that have to do with money, well, okay, I'll slide this under the rug.
Yeah.
Yes, you're a reprehensible human being, but I'm really liking this cigarette boat.
Right.
If you can hook me up.
Yeah.
Invite me to your parties so that, hey, maybe I can partake.
Right.
It's just none of it's good.
It's pretty gross, man.
Just none of it's good.
But, and the thing is, it's probably happening now. Similar stuff, similar.
I know you've heard the fact that Epstein was just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, of course.
And that there's a global situation. Who knows? But
I don't know about global, but because that gets into the cabal and some crazy nonsense.
Well, it depends on how deep down the fictional rabbit hole you want to go.
But clearly, powerful people do messed up stuff and get away with it. Clearly.
To a point where we would not even recognize it as humanity.
Right. So, and it's mind-boggling, and his Epstein's suicide, dude, it's such a joke. It reminds me of Gary Webb. You know the story of Gary Webb, the guy who exposed man. We were talking about a lot of football tonight. He exposed the CIA's backing of the Iran-Contra scandal with drug money.
Okay.
That was in the United States, Freeway Ricky and
all that stuff. Yeah,
right.
Back in the 80s.
He exposed all that stuff. He also committed suicide.
Sure.
He shot himself twice in the back of the head.
Right.
And it's still listed as a suicide.
Dude, anybody who ever had anything on the Clintons, you know how many suicides surround the Clintons?
I don't get into the politics part of it because
I'm not talking.
You never know.
It doesn't matter about politics. It's like somebody says something they have on the Clintons. Next thing you know, they're committing suicide. And Epstein is just one of them.
Yeah, but I mean, Epstein had stuff on a lot of people, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that list was long. So there was a lot of people didn't want him to
speak,
chitter chatter. Anyway, let's talk about football. Let's not talk about pedophiles.
Well, I keep trying to. I have this paper. So first of all, today Richard Sherman signs a $2.25 million contract. He was looking at the Niners and the Seahawks, maybe going back there. Mm-hmm. But he had apparently a conversation with Tom Brady, which probably was like, "Dude, you want to win a ring or not?"
Yeah, there it is.
And now he's going to sign with the Bucs.
Yeah.
He was probably the most coveted free agent remaining.
I don't know how much he has left in the tank, but he's definitely a grizzled veteran, a former, maybe even a Hall of Famer, dude, probably. I mean, he had a lot of good seasons in the NFL. But the question that I have is when somebody's, getting up there in the years, football time, what is he, 34?
Something, yeah. I mean,
barely
hit his stride
right
in life.
But I just question, can they still do the things that they used to be able to do? And defensive back is a very difficult position, especially nowadays. So I don't know how much of a massive impact he's going to have, but we'll see. You never know. I mean, some people, they just don't lose it. Look at Tom Brady.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, but Tom's skill set, necessary skill set to play at a high level, slightly different than Sherman's. Tom Brady could never run. He didn't have to.
Right.
When you're a DB, you still have to run. So
as
long as he can still run, he's good.
Yes. Tom just needs the physical skills to be able to make the throws. He's always going to be able to read the coverages.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. As long as he doesn't get himself a big injury, he's now talking about going till 50. And why wouldn't he?
Sure.
What
Listen,
the hell?
if he keeps winning football games,
he will have a place.
He will have a place in the NFL.
Yeah,
but
can't argue with it.
It's going to be sad because at some point he will hit a wall.
Yeah,
he just will. I mean, it's just
every football player does. I mean,
Yeah.
Jamie was talking the other day about somebody. I can't believe that guy's 35 already. And Russell Wilson. I remember. I was like, dude. I remember John Elway coming out of college, and
right.
And he retired. He's my age. He's a couple of years older than me. I guess 60.
Yeah.
So I've been Marino and all those guys.
Yeah.
And when they hit the wall, it was kind of sad to see him go.
I remember Joe Montana as a Chief.
I do. He was good.
Yeah, but
he wasn't 49er good.
No.
And, and Elway won a Super Bowl and clapped out, which is the way you want to do it. But Manning in his last year with the Broncos, they won, but he wasn't the same guy.
He wasn't the same guy, no.
Yeah. Marino, his last game was a trouncing in the playoffs, and he just kind of, faded into the sideline.
Yeah, it's a shame that guy never won a ring because he was fantastic, man.
Yeah, I mean, Kelly, all these guys who were just super good back, that class of 83.
Yeah. It was really those three guys, but yeah.
Right, but there were other good guys coming out of there. I mean, Eason went to a Super Bowl with the Patriots. He didn't win, and he wasn't one of the all-time greats. But Todd Blackledge was pretty good.
Yeah, but those three guys are in the Hall of Fame.
They are, yeah.
So
anyway, one other thing we wanted to talk about. We were talking about Richard Sherman. Next thing you know, we're talking about Jim Kelly.
Yeah, it's just the way it goes.
So one of the things I love about the NFL is the fact that irony is a huge part of life. So we were talking about before the show, in 1970, Tom Dempsey for the Saints kicked a 63-yarder. The record before that was 56 yards, and it had been there for a while. So he kicks himself a 63-yarder. He had half a foot from birth. And he had a special boot, which, the league had to look at to make sure it wasn't cheating, whatever. It's like, dude's got half a foot.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
What kind of boot are you going to put on there that's going to make it cheating? Anyway. So, and that was against the Lions.
Yeah, yes,
so
it was.
the fact that this last Sunday, with Justin Tucker kicking a 66-yarder that took a big bounce off the crossbar
Sure
and actually
did.
went into the net.
It did.
Most ones that hit
bounce.
the crossbar just kind of, fumble, kind of tumble
It
weakly
hit
over.
just right, man.
Hit it right, went into the net.
That's fate. That's fate looking at the Lions and going,
Yeah.
And the Lions played a great game.
They did. I think they came back. They came up. I mean, Goff actually looks pretty good. And I'll tell you what, there's only 4 or 5 running backs right now that are outperforming Swift.
Dude, he is, and they're talking about getting him more involved.
I'm in.
So I think that
I have a couple shares of
Swift.
him. So.
Listen, it's a long season. It's only week 3, but Swift right now is certainly unsittable. And if they actually do get him more involved, number one, I think they'll actually win some football games. And number 2, he's going to be a top 5 back. I mean, when he touches the football, he is dangerous.
He's Swift.
Oh God.
So I mean, it was fun to see that, and I like it when I can see records being broken, et cetera, blah blah blah.
Yeah, no, it was cool, and the thing was there was a 68-yard attempt prior to that was
Right.
run back as the longest NFL play, tied for the longest NFL play ever.
Which it will only ever be tied.
Right, because you can't do 110, you can only do 109.
Right, you catch it at 110, you're out of
You're
bounds.
out of bounds,
Or,
so-
or as they say up north,
Oot a boons.
I don't know if they say that or not, but I'll allow you saying it.
Of course they do.
All right, so let's get into
All
these
right,
games, man.
Let's do it.
Let's did.
I mean, there's probably some news, but I don't care about it.
We could, but it's all injury stuff.
Yeah, you guys know.
So Jacksonville Jaguars are making their way to Cincinnati. And, dude, crazy enough, Cincinnati's not a bad football team, as it turns out. They beat last year's division champs in the AFC North, and it wasn't close. So you got to look at this game. Usually you would say, it's another Thursday night snoozer. It may be that, but it looks like the Bengals have something going on here. I'm not going to say they're going to win the North, but they're going to win some games in there to be sure.
Listen, we've been waiting a long time for this, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm all right with it too. And there's some good players that you can get some points out of. So obviously you can't play Trevor Lawrence this year, maybe never.
I'm considering dropping him in a keeper league.
Yeah,
He's a turnover machine right now.
He is, and maybe he'll be able to improve that, but he's on a bad football team, and he's a good quarterback, and I don't know what the offense looks like.
Is he a good quarterback?
He was up until now. He never lost a game or something. I don't know, but
See, and that's the stuff that bothers me, Kevin, because that kind of stuff I feel like can really get into your head. I mean, we talked about this a little bit before, and I don't want to take up a whole bunch of time because, that would be stupid. But these guys aren't used to losing.
it can be a psychological smack.
Absolutely, man. And Trevor Lawrence is not used to throwing a bunch of interceptions.
He's not.
And they got to you got to get over that hurdle, and ignore that, and keep moving. And that's not easy, man. For somebody who's been successful their whole life, and then come into a situation and just be terrible. Because let's be honest, I'm nothing against the kid, but he's been, as a quarterback,
He's been ungood.
Yeah, he hadn't played well.
We've seen it before out of number 1 overall picks. I mean,
Absolutely.
we talked about David Carr.
Yep.
We haven't talked about Tim Couch, but in a class that featured McNabb and Dante Culpepper and Achilles Smith, who everybody liked,
Yeah.
and a few other guys, Tim Couch was the top dog.
He was the top pick.
He was the top guy. I say top dog because it's Cleveland. I have the dog
I
pound.
got you. And dude was fantastic in college.
And he actually played pretty well for Cleveland. It's just, the rest of the team wasn't great, and the organization was a little.
I mean, that's how it goes.
Yeah. So, what are you going to do? So anyway, looking at the rest of the team, James Robinson is going to go up against the Cincy run D. That's only given up 78 run yards per game and has only allowed 1 rushing touchdown. So, yeah, I know Jimmy Robinson had a pretty good week last week. He was the James Robinson we've come to know and adore.
Yes.
Not a great week to play him. Now, I'm not going to tell you to sit the guy because running backs are hard to come by these days, especially feature backs like he is. But certainly temper your expectation. If he gets that 78 yards and a touchdown, figure that you're doing pretty well. Looking at the receivers, Laviska Shenault, a lot of people were excited about him earlier in the season, around draft time. He's pretty much droppable at this point. The only guy, there's two guys here. Obviously, Marvin Jones is the go-to receiver, and DJ Chark has a touchdown here or there. Since he's passed, he's allowed 4 touchdowns and only has 3 picks. So I'm okay with playing Marvin Jones. He's at least flex-worthy, and probably DJ Chark is as well, depending on who you have. But, they're counting on Trevor Lawrence having a good day.
He won't.
I'm just not sure you can count on that.
Narrator here.
He won't.
He didn't.
But they're still going to throw the ball, and somebody's got to catch it.
For sure.
And we've seen Jones have success. He's at least consistent in lower double digits, and that's at least flex worthy. Looking at the Bengals side, the Jaguars give up over 100 yards per game on the ground. They've given up five rushing TDs. Really like Joe Mixon most of the time anyway.
Dude, he's been fantastic this year.
Yeah, he has. I mean,
we spent a lot of time talking about Swift. I mean, Mixon has been really solid.
I mean, he's the Joe Mixon now we always hoped he could be. Now, he didn't have a great week 2 against Chicago, but I don't think he played the full game there. I only think he had 20 carries. So
yeah,
he had like the second most of the season and only 69 yards. But I still think Joe Mixon is absolutely a play. Looking at the receivers, T. Higgins is questionable with his shoulder. If he goes, obviously, I think he's at least flex worthy. Jamar Chase is a wide receiver 2 at minimum at this point.
Maybe RB or wide receiver 1, bro.
He might be.
He keeps catching touchdowns.
Well, I remember we were talking about it, not just everybody, but us too. We're talking about he dropped 4 out of 5 targets in the I guess it's okay in the regular
it's not
season.
a problem.
He's doing all right. So I'd play Higgins, Chase, or Boyd, at least in a flex. And for Jamar Chase's case, right into a wide receiver spot. Nothing to worry about tight end wise with this team. I mean, Uzomah is going to catch some here and there, but nothing to actually roster worthy.
For sure, the Carolina Panthers taking on them Cowboys, bro. And don't look now, but the Carolina Panthers are 3-0, bro.
Darnold's actually
QB rating
playable-ish.
QB rating of 102, 99, and 95. Respectively, right? He's thrown for over 300 2 weeks in a row. Didn't throw a touchdown pass last week. That was disconcerting until I realized that he had ran for 2.
Yeah, that'll get you past a bit of a line there.
Yeah, so that's fine. Dude, I must say right now, Sammy Darnold's a play.
I picked him up.
He's a
not
play.
going to play him this week because I have Derek Carr.
This Dallas defense is questionable. Now, I know they looked pretty good the other night against the Eagles.
It's not hard to do.
Yeah, a lot to do with coaching. They did lose their best weapon, though. Christian McCaffrey is out. We know that. And Chuba Hubbard is coming in, probably going to be the number 1 guy right now.
I saw you pick up Royce Freeman.
I did pick up Royce Freeman, just in case.
Why not?
I had some duds on my bench. Why not, roll the dice? You know what? I went. I ran the table this week.
Yeah.
I won every game.
Yeah,
I smoked you.
You did.
Smoke.
The last 2 weeks in that league, I've run up against the top scorer.
It didn't matter. You were middle scorer. So.
Yeah.
Dude, I was up by like 90 points.
Yeah, I mean,
and
Kevin
had like 2 guys left.
I generally don't look at the scores until evening.
Yeah.
Because what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I'll look at the scores. I look at if I have to make any changes before the afternoon game, but I'm not really looking at scores because it doesn't matter.
Right.
And I saw that you were up. I'm like, I got 5 guys left going.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was the top scorer in 3 out of 5 leagues. So, yeah, it was a good week.
It's about time you have a good year.
Well, I mean,
you've sucked lately.
It's not the year.
You've sucked lately. Last 6 years, you've been ass.
Wow. Thanks. But what was amazing is I had terrible waiver priorities.
Yeah, well, that's how it works. You win
I know.
games.
So I didn't bother. And it was kind of refreshing. there was really not a whole lot out there except for people like Hubbard and, really high that were definitely going to get scooped up.
Yeah.
So I just went, I'll just wait and see who's there tomorrow. And I did that.
So I did, obviously the day out
Yeah,
on
I'm going
Tuesday.
to put in some claims for the guillotine league.
The thing about waiver wires, I look on Tuesday morning and go, okay, well, who do I have that I can get rid of? Who's better on the wire than guys I already have? Mm-hmm. And I realized I have Chuba Hubbard in a league. I just had him at the end of the bench.
Nice. I mean, he had 11 carries the other day for 52 yards. That's 4.7. He also caught 3 of 5 targets for another 27. Not bad. Now
he'll have maybe a fuller workload.
He may be. I picked up Royce Freeman just in case. He only had 5 carries and had 1 target, right? So, but he's going to be involved. So I wouldn't expect Chuba Hubbard to be the bell cow back here. And also, I want to caution everybody, McCaffrey's going to be back real soon. So
yeah, maybe next week, like week 5.
Yes, I really wouldn't. Waivers are already over, but I would not have spent a lot of money on this guy.
I think I put a $16 because I knew I was renting him. So
Sure.
Out of a $200 fab, I put $16 on him.
Did you win?
I don't know. I didn't even care.
I saw leagues where people were spending $40, $50, $60.
I'm not going to spend 25% of my fab for a 2-week rental.
Yeah, I think that's crazy. Anyway, what can you say? Start him at your own peril. We don't know a whole lot about him other than the one game. He's obviously very young.
Ran hard. Looked pretty good.
He looked okay, but that's a risky start. So I would hold off. But again, it's not a bad matchup against Dallas. DJ Moore, I don't know how you can say anything negative about this guy. So he's 100% a slam dunk start. I want to see a lot more out of Robbie Anderson and pretty much anyone else on this team. But it's just not there right now.
Well, Sammy D is just zeroing in on DJ.
Yeah.
Not unlike Stafford's zeroing in on Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp, yeah.
Looks the same way.
I actually, you're going to talk about that game later, I think. I might have it. But I saw that Kupp and Stafford were they're staying after practice and going over coverages and running routes and or routes, depending on where you're from. And just working on timing and all that kind of stuff for 35, 45 minutes after practice.
If I was one of the other receivers, I'd make it a point to be involved in those
Bobby
little
Trees
sessions.
might want to go over there.
Just, mosey over there and say, hey, fellas.
Can I get in on this?
Yeah.
But we'll talk about Kupp later, but good God. I mean,
well,
guys are having a bit of a year. Anyway, from the Dallas side, listen, the only person I would start is DJ Moore. I'm not on the Sam Darnold train just yet, but he's not a bad play.
If he wins this game, I think.
If he wins this game, that puts him at 4-0. That gives him an 87% chance, I think, of making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Historically, right now they're at 75. They're Carolina's going to playoffs
for the most part. Yeah.
Anyway,
you can't say, well, barring injury, they lost McCaffrey for a week and they still won.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see. From the Dallas side, obviously a lot of weapons to talk about here. Dak Prescott, fantastic the other night. 3 touchdowns. Should have had a rushing one, in my opinion, even though I'm an Eagles fan. His rating was perfect. Obviously going to play him. Zeke had a fantastic game. 3 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. Got to play him. Pollard.
I still think Zeke's the second best running back on that team now. Well, Pollard just looks like he's way more explosive.
He was 5.5 per against the Eagles, 11 for 60. The week before, he had 109 yards. But Zeke's getting the majority of the touches. I would stick with him. Obviously, you're going to play CeeDee Lamb. Did not have a great night against the Eagles.
Almost had a touchdown. Went down to the half-yard mark.
Yep. But didn't get in. Amari Cooper's had a rough couple of weeks, but I would still stick with him given this offense. He'll be back around. Cedric Wilson Jr. had a touchdown.
Yeah.
And actually had some key catches in that game, only 2 of them, but I wouldn't play him. But CD and Cooper are pretty obvious. Dalton Schultz was the guy who caught the 2 touchdowns. That's going to happen from time to time, but I still think he's a mid-level tight end.
Dude, you got 3 or 4 guys at the top, and everybody else just sucks. Looking at the Kansas City Chiefs-Eagles game, it's going to be a rough one for the Eagles and their fans.
Yeah, my tickets are on the market.
Yeah, I bet. So obviously you're going to play Mahomes. I don't need to tell you that. Think about Clyde
He
Edwards-Helaire.
has not been great, though.
He hasn't. I mean, this is a Chiefs team who's 1-2 and is last in the division with two undefeated teams.
And 2 weeks in a row, Mahomes has thrown interceptions that cost him the game.
Just like that. So, I mean, you're not going to sit Mahomes. I mean, obviously. But we were talking about Clyde Edwards-Helaire about, week 1 in a half-point PPR, 8.7 points, 3.6 in week 2. Talking about, maybe it's time to put him on the pine until we see it. Well, we saw it. And I don't know if it was the fact that it was really windy against the Chargers at home or what, but the dude got 17 carries, which is only a few more than he's been getting previously. Mm-hmm. But he averaged 5.9 per, which gave him 100 yards on the nose. He caught a couple passes for 9 yards, and he had a touchdown out of it as well. So in that half-point peeper, he got 18.9, which is, edging up into RB1 numbers. Edging. So, yeah, I'm not saying he's an every-week start. I would absolutely start him this week because I don't think the Eagles can stop anybody. In fact, they're giving up over 130 yards per game and have already allowed 3 rushing touchdowns, 2 to Zeke last week. So, yeah, I mean, looking at the receivers, obviously you're going to start Tyreek Hill. Maybe you could flex Mecole Hardman or in a daily fantasy if you have 3 wide receiver spots. Pick one of those guys, Hardman or Robinson, to pop in there. Eagles pass D, they've already given up 4 touchdowns. They have no picks. They average, not too bad, 182 yards a game they're giving up. But this offense, has a – I don't have to tell you about the Chiefs. They can go big and they can go for the entire game. And obviously you're going to play Travis Kelce as well. From the Eagles side, not a lot to love here. I mean, Jalen Hurts last week was awful. Miles Sanders.
The pick 6 wasn't his fault, but yes.
It wasn't, but he's really not playable at this point.
He's not. No.
Week 1, yes. Week 2, maybe. Last week, no. I really need to see it.
I agree.
Before I can recommend the guy, even as a second quarterback in a
somebody who
Superflex.
attempts that many passes and has that poor of a game. I'm sorry, and I don't know. And again, we're Eagles homers, so we're going to talk about this for a moment. I don't think it's necessarily all him. I mean, obviously RPOs, he might be making the wrong read because he's not R-ing.
It's just
being. But something has to be said for the play calling and the coaching because clearly they can't adjust. Nick Sirianni's never called games. Yeah, it shows.
Yeah. Well, the play caller's primary job on Sunday or whenever they play is to put the players on the field in the best possible position to succeed. We haven't seen that out of that play caller.
Outside of week 1, we have not.
Week 1 was a little questionable as well, but you had the entire summer to work on week's 1 play sheet.
Right.
You have a week to work on week 2's play sheet, and that showed.
Yeah, it's been terrible.
So when you have 3 called runs, not RPOs, but you hand off to the guy. Miles Sanders had 2 carries, and Kenny Gainwell had 1. So, love Miles Sanders. I think if they actually gave him 15 carries a game, he'd be an RB2 at minimum.
Minimum. Yeah, he might be a lot higher than
But
that.
I can't start him if they're going to hand him the ball twice. Now, maybe this is a wake-up call for Sirianni to say, okay, I got to get my head out of my ass.
Against the Chiefs?
Yeah, well.
They're going to be behind again.
They're going to be behind at the opening gun. So,
right.
Can't play Sanders, can't play Gainwell. Can't play any of these receivers either. I can play Goddard maybe because you need a tight end, and he's a guy who will at least catch a few passes.
Yep.
But that's it. I'm going to sit the rest of this Eagles team except for Goddard.
Don't disagree with you, Kevin. Titans, Jets, bruh. Ryan Tannehill, everybody was worried about him. Only had 1 touchdown, passing, 1 rushing coming into week 3. Yeah, he threw 3 touchdowns.
Let me tell you something, man.
Yeah. He also ran for 56 yards, by the way.
I sat Tannehill for Danny Jones in the Guillotine League.
How'd that work out for you?
And got away with it.
I would continue to start him.
I'm going to start Tannehill this week.
They're playing the Jets,
Yeah.
So need I say more? Derrick Henry, obviously a beast. Didn't get in the end zone last week, but he had 113 yards on the ground, another 31 through the air. So oddly enough, he's catching passes now.
Yeah, I know. Who knew?
Julio
he's got more receptions than Kamara does, dude.
He does. Julio had a week 3, but I would continue to play him, obviously, against this defense. He's a solid WR2 or a flex. A.J. Brown, week to week with a hammy, and obviously hasn't been playing well even when he was healthy. I don't know what happened to this guy, but I'm seeing some buzz on the fantasy Reddit or subreddits. People are talking about dropping him. I think that's a little bit of an overreaction, but, do what you want with it. Nick Westbrook,
No?
he caught 53 yards worth of passes and a touchdown last week. Keep an eye on him. He's probably worth a stash at some point if A.J. Brown's hammy is going to continue to act up. Fersker also has been banged up, hasn't played since week 1. Jeff Swain came in and got 3 passes for 27 yards. Can't play these guys.
Right.
From the Jet side, oof. We're not going to play Babyface Wilson. For sure. Had a 37 rating against New England, week 2. Week 3 comes in at 42.6.
Yikes.
160 yards, 2 picks, sacked 5 times. He's just, obviously, you're not going to play him. Because of that, I like Michael Carter, but can't play him. Can I find anyone I can play here?
No.
No, it's a hard pass, bro.
You can't really.
Yeah. So, once again, year after year, can't play a Jet.
Can't play a Jet. At some point, you're going to be able to.
Really?
You'll be retired, sitting on a beach somewhere.
It'll be like, the Jets are good?
It happens, man.
They need new ownership or something because you can't fail for this long.
Well, you can't say it's you're playing in the New York market, for goodness sake.
Yeah, but you're not.
But you know what? Well, you are. You're in the New York market.
Yeah,
you're
but
still in Jersey.
Nobody likes the Jets.
They know. Well, the Giants are just as bad. They've gone 0-3 now for how many years in a row?
2 at least.
Yeah. Well, no, I think it's more like 5. I think they were 0-2 for like 5 years straight. So you got the Giants now playing against the Saints this week. We were talking about Daniel Jones earlier. So, when he puts up 22.38 points week 1 against Denver, you're like, okay, lost that game. Who cares? Over 29 points in week 2 against Washington. You're like, hey, he ran, for a touchdown. He had a bunch of yards, right? So what the hell? So last week against Atlanta, it should have been a perfect storm of bad defense, good quarterback play. He did all right. He had like 16.5 points.
It's not horrible.
Not
but
the 29 we were hoping
it's
for.
not what you were looking for.
I don't really think he's playable this week. The Saints, have a pretty, actually, they have a pretty forgiving pass D. They've given up over 240 yards a game, 3 touchdowns allowed, but they do have 6 picks. So that is a very active defensive backfield. So I'd worry about that if I was a Daniel Jones owner. I just wouldn't be a Daniel Jones player this week. Saquon Barkley returned almost to form last week. Didn't have 100 yards, but he had a touchdown on the ground. He caught 43 yards worth of passes, had 51 yards on the ground. So he was up around 18 points in a half-point PPR. So if you thought about sitting Saquon, I think those days are over. You got to continue to play that dude.
Well, they gave him the rock a lot. It seemed like they were confident in his health, and they were like, all right, here's the football.
Well, they did say early that they were going to ease him in. So, maybe it's just a matter of giving him more and more and more to do.
Yeah.
So hamstrings and toes and hips seem to be hurting the Giants receivers. Kenny Golladay has a hip and a toe. He's questionable. Slayton and Shepard both have hammy issues. They're questionable. They do get John Ross back from IR this week, and they do have Kadarius Toney.
Don't worry, he'll be back on IR.
Yeah, he's very fast to run to the trainer's room.
Poor guy can't catch a break.
Yeah, so, I like Sterling Shepard if he plays. Darius Slayton had a couple of really good games last year, but really hasn't been consistent. And Galladay's only consistency is in availability. So really, it's Sterling Shepard, at least in a flex. So I do like that guy's matchup. Tight ends here, Ingram, you could probably do better. From the Saints side, Jameis Winston, remember the MVP conversation week 1? Those days are over. The Giants should nothing like a get-right game against the Giants to make everything look better. The Giants' pass D kind of stinks on ice, dude. They give up over 260 yards a game, have allowed 6 touchdowns, only have 1 pick. The run defense isn't much better. Kamara's an obvious start, of course. I really want to see Tony Jones get some of last year's Latavius Murray's carries, and he's getting some of those, but just not enough to roster. Looking at these receivers, I really like Marquez Callaway, just not enough to roster him at this point. And really, there's nobody else on this roster that I have to play. You have better options elsewhere on your roster, I hope. Juwan Johnson.
Can you say roster again?
Dude, I'm just trying to get my thing done.
I know, but apparently you're getting it done with the word roster.
Well, make it a drinking game then.
You said it. All right. Every time you say roster, you drink.
Fine.
But you don't have alcohol. It's no fun.
I could fix that in a hurry.
You can fix it.
I am like 10 feet away from a whole
Tell
cooler.
me which beer you want, and I'll get it for you. Which one you want?
Give me that Voodoo Ranger. Juicy, hazy IPA. Might be the only one in there.
There might be one in the back. I think there's one in the back.
Thank you, sir. This is one of my current favorites.
Very good beer. Oh, yeah.
All right, so Juwan Johnson had a good week 1, not much since. Not going to tell you to sit him. I think this is a pretty good matchup for him, but, 1 week does not a trend make, but 2 bad weeks starts to get trendish, so find your tight end elsewhere.
For sure.
How many times did I say roster that last time?
37.
Okay.
Browns taking on the Vikes, man. This one ought to be a good one. You like that beer?
Love this beer, dude.
It was a great idea of mine for you to drink that.
Yeah, was it?
Baker Mayfield has been playing well on the field. Browns 2-1 and lost a close one against KC week 1. However, fantasy-wise, the numbers just really aren't there to justify a start. He's only got 2 passing TDs on the season. He did run one in week 2.
Dude, he should be there, though. Don't you think?
Again, it's just not there. Maybe with OBJ back, it'll be a thing. We'll have to see. These running backs are the thing. Chubb only had 84 yards on 20, almost 84 carries, right? 22 carries last week, but still, he had 3 touchdowns the first 2 weeks. You're not going to sit Nick Chubb. It was the Kareem Hunt show last week. 81 yards on the ground and a touchdown. 7 targets, 6 catches for 74 throh the air. Come on, man. Did you see that touchdown run?
Hard to say
Come
no.
on,
Oh, yeah,
man.
it was crazy.
He's still, what's funny is, I know all the controversy surrounding him. He left the Chiefs and all that stuff. He's still one of the best running backs in the league.
On any other team, he's the top dog.
Yeah, and he would be phenomenal. It's crazy to me that he's playing second fiddle, but Nicky Chubb is that good too. So
What are you going to do, not play Nicky Chubb?
Like nobody has a good running back, and Cleveland has 2 of them.
Yeah.
It's weird. Anyway, OBJ came back, and boy, he was really good. 9 targets, caught 5 of them, 77. He also ran the ball once for 10 yards. Made a circus catch. He was OBJ again. You're like, hey, there he is. Remember that guy?
I remember that guy.
So I'm going to wait and see on him. I'm not saying start him right away, but as a flex, I'll allow it. Really, no one else on this team. I mean, Austin Hooper caught a touchdown. Okay, not horrible as a tight end, but he had 19 yards. Really, no one else on this team can you play. And to be perfectly honest, you're playing the running backs. And if somehow you have both of them, definitely start them.
No question.
Yeah. From the Minnesota side, Kirk Cousins has been, fantasy-wise, absolutely fantastic this year. He's got no turnovers. He did fumble twice, but they were both recovered. He's got no turnovers.
Then they almost don't really count at all, do they?
Well, in some leagues you lose
Roster.
you lose points for a some leagues you lose points for a fumble whether you recovered it or not.
Yeah, you do.
But I'm just saying 351, 244, 323 respectively in the past 3 games. Again, no turnovers. He's only been sacked 5 times. 3 of them were in week 1. Minnesota's kind of rolling here, and it's funny because they're only 1-2. They lost week 1 by 3 points, week 2 by 1 point.
That's tough.
And they absolutely routed Seattle,
which nobody expected.
Nobody expected. But looking at the again, watching
you're
the
right
film,
over there?
Yeah. Watching the film with the lens of let's not look at the numbers, let's just look at what's happening. They're a good football team. They are. Week 1 just didn't work out for them against Cincinnati.
Yeah.
It's fine. They lost a nail biter to Arizona in week 2. But Cousins has actually been fantastic, man. He's been over 100 rating in all 3 games this season. So Dalvin Cook did return to practice, so we'll see how that goes. We doubted him, but Madison had himself a ball game.
He did play very well, and every time he busted a run, I was like, Lyle said no.
It wasn't just me. Madison had 26 carries, a $112. He also caught 6 of 8 targets for 59. If Cooks doesn't play, I guess I'll allow it. Cleveland's got a fairly good defense. I would be suspicious of him having an equally productive game, but for Cook owners or people that are desperate, I think it's fine. Obviously, you're going to play both of the receivers. Jefferson scored in the last 2 weeks. Had a massive game last week, over 100 yards. Thielen has scored in every single week. He had 2 week 1, so he's got 4 touchdowns in 3 games. He's fantastic. KJ Osborne, actually, the first 2 weeks of the season had been really good as well. Last week, just 2 for 26. But I think it's going to happen. Obviously, the number 1 and number 2 receivers on this team, which I'm not sure which one's which.
You got 2 number 1s is what you have.
They're going to take up all the yardage and receptions. But Tyler Conklin, I have to mention. Like I can't not mention a tight end that had 8 targets, caught 7 of them for 70 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, those don't happen that much.
I just can't. So if you're desperate at TE, you might want to run. I wouldn't play him this week. He has a man bun. It's a little weird. Right? I don't think I would play him this week, but I might roster him.
Hard to roster him with a man bun.
Just in case that becomes a thing. Because 8 targets for a tight end, that's Kelsey-ish.
Yes, it is.
Catching 7 of them for 70 and a snee, it's Kelsey-ish. So I'm not saying he's the next Kelsey, but I'm just saying you can't ignore those types of numbers. I can't not talk about it.
You can't. All right, so you got the Detroit Lions going up against the Chicago Bears in an NFC North tilt of sorts. Jared Goff, a lot of people said, when he left L.A. to go to Detroit, his career is over, blah, blah, blah. He had a really good week 1 against Frisco. Dude had over 30 points. He had a 67% completion rating, 338 yards, 3 touchdowns. He hasn't duplicated that. In fact, against Baltimore, when they almost won, dude only had 217 yards, no touchdowns, and only had like 8 points. But I'm not saying play the guy, but keep an eye on him because he's getting some opportunities there, and he's got some weapons around him. We talked about Deandre Swift before. He's had over 20 points twice this season so far, and only he had 1 sub 10-point game against Green Bay. We all saw how that went. But you can't really sit DeAndre Swift at this point. He is at least flex-worthy and probably more like an RB2 at this point. TJ Hawkinson, one of the few tight ends you can play. And he can still throw you up a 2-point stinger like he did against Baltimore. But he's one of the top 5 guys or top 6 guys you have to play. Looking at these receivers, though, Tyrell Williams, Quintez Cephas, dude, I just don't know what to do with them other than
I do
not play them.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't roster.
Certainly don't put them on that roster.
Kevin's gonna need a beer real quick.
Yeah, I'm working on it. From the Chicago side, Ensign.
Wow, really?
No.
No one?
No. Andy Dalton. Maybe no one. I'll let you know.
Hold on. Come on. No one?
Well, Andy Dalton is the starter when/if he comes back, but he's questionable with a knee. Justin Fields is questionable with a hand. We might be seeing some Nicky Ball game.
You know what? I think it'll be better than what happened with Fields last week. That was just sad.
I've read so much about that. It's like, there's
what
been
was it,
some
9? Was it 9
sacks? So there's some questions about Nagy's coaching ability, play calling ability, whatever. So you've got Justin Fields back there, who is an athletic running quarterback,
fantastic
no question.
Athlete for sure.
So you run the same offense with him and the same plays with him as you do if Andy Dalton's back there.
It might be the offense he knows, though.
Who?
That Justin Fields knows.
No, dude. Did you see him in college? He was all over the place.
No. I'm saying it might be the offense that he's been preparing because
Maybe.
it's the Andy Dalton offense.
But it's
so he might not know the other plays.
Dude, it's just awful. So I'm sure blame is ready to be placed anywhere, everywhere, but really, you got to put these guys in a position to win. Having Justin Fields play pocket quarterback ain't the way.
It's not.
So obviously you can't play either of those guys. Montgomery started the season strong. It's like 108 yards against the Rams. Against that defense?
When you don't have a passing game.
When you don't have a passing game, you get the box stacked. Against Cincinnati and Cleveland, he didn't bust the 10-point mark. I'm not saying sit this guy because, again, find me another feature back in the NFL.
It's a bad situation.
You can't sit
If
him.
Nicky Ballgame plays, I think that actually benefits him.
If anybody plays properly, even if Dalton comes back.
Sure.
Nothing against Fields. I think he's going to be really, really good as soon as Nagy's fired and they get somebody else in there.
Right.
Because look at that. I mean, I'm not saying he's Adam Gase-ish, but look at what he's done over the
I like
past.
that's a verb.
Gase-ish. I was going to say they have the same number of letters in their name. Coincidence?
I think not.
So anyway, look at his last several years there. He just has not put together a good offensive team, and that's allegedly his forte. So I will play Montgomery. I will squint while I do it, but he's a running back who has had good success in the NFL. Not sure what to do with Allen Robinson, dude. I love the dude.
I do.
I drafted him. He has yet to bust 10 points in a game
You
yet.
bench him. You got to bench him.
You got to bench the guy. I
mean,
mean,
if Nicky Ballgame comes in, I would stick him in at flex for sure.
35 yards, 24 yards, 27 yards. Does have one touchdown. Did get one, end around run for 24 yards. Crazy talented dude.
Yeah, for sure.
I hate to sit him, but at this point there are a lot of other guys
I
I'd
would
rather
say
play.
if Foles plays, I think he's okay as a flex. I don't think. Obviously, we're biased about Nick Foles. Nick Foles is not a great quarterback, but he is above average for sure. And he doesn't belong as the number 3 on a team.
Probably not.
He could start on probably a handful of teams in the NFL and probably do fairly well.
One of them right north of us, right here.
But if he doesn't play, if Justin Fields is back in there, you cannot start anyone on the offense essentially.
Well, I would still start Montgomery, but I wouldn't like it.
I don't know.
You got to have running backs, dude. What are you going to do? Play Damian Harris?
I mean, if they're stacking the box like that, they could just sack him. So,
I don't know. I'm not happy about it.
Yeah.
We need running backs.
Houston taking on the Buffalo Bills,
Roster.
Kevin, and talk about quarterback problems. Ty God's on IR. Mm-hmm. You got Deshaun Watson, the monster, perhaps, allegedly.
Did you say allegedly?
I did. Which is a reference to
Squirrely Dan from Letterkenny.
Letterkenny. You got it. Davis Mills comes in at QB, and I picked him up in a league or two, just in case.
Did you see the compilation picture of him? No. It was his neck with Peyton Manning's forehead and face.
No.
It was like 10 feet long. It was
so
fantastic.
Funny. That's hilarious. He had a 95 rating, but he only threw for $168. Threw a touchdown, no picks, didn't turn the ball over, but it was not great. So hard pass there, obviously, and with that, the entire offense struggles. Honestly, they've been struggling since week 1 against Jacksonville. This week they're playing Buffalo, so hard pass on Ingram and David Johnson. Hard pass on Phillip Lindsay as well. Apparently it's a 3-headed not monster at running back. I got to start Brandon Cooks, though.
Do you, though?
Yeah, I do, man. 11, listen, week 1 he had 7 targets for 5 for $132. Right. Week 2, when Tyrod went out, 14 targets, 9 catches, 78 yards, and a touchdown. Week 3, Mills only threw to him, apparently. 11 targets, 9 catches, $112. He has been fantastic this year, given the situation he's in. I would continue to start him. Pretty much no one else on the team is playable.
Wow.
Am I wrong?
No, but
okay.
It sounds harsh to hear it.
From the Buffalo Bills side, story's slightly different.
Slightly different.
Their quarterback, remember when we told you that Josh Allen starts slow and just hold on. Oh my God, 5 touchdowns, 4 through the air, 1 on the ground. He just dominated. Had 74.4%, Kevin, 358. I mean, these are numbers like this is the dipping sauce. You already got the really good boneless wings, and Kevin is using a fork. This is the dipping sauce that you're dipping it in. If you own,
If I could actually get a fork.
oh, you can't get a fork. Fork you. Yeah. Anyway, he was fantastic. And what I think is really funny is Devin Singletary was not. 11 carries for 26 yards. That's 2.4 if you're doing your math correctly.
Yeah.
But Zach Moss was really good. 13 carries for 60. He also caught 3 passes on 3 targets for 31 and a touchdown.
Got to wonder why he was a healthy scratch week 1.
Apparently he wasn't healthy. He did fumble week 2. I'm going to keep my eye on him. I actually had to start him last week. So I had him on my bench, and I forget who it was, but somebody was hurt.
It worked out for you.
And I was like, I'm going to stick Moss in the flex. Why not?
Yeah.
He had a great game. So I'm going to keep my eye on him. Singletary outplayed him.
You going to
in week
occasionally
2.
try to roster him?
You're just saying it on purpose at this point.
Me? It's crazy.
Diggs has been disappointing, but I want you guys to calm down because he's had 13, 8, and 10 targets. Those are pretty big. I think he's going to come around. I would continue to play him. Cole Beasley is an absolute must-start in a PPR. 13-4 and 13 targets, right?
So he's either feast or famine.
Well, I mean, it was mostly feast, right? He's caught 23 passes on the year in 3 games. That's not bad.
Yeah, it's all right.
And, so I would continue to play him in a PPR. Manny Sanders, I don't know yet, but good God, did he have a great game. 94 yards on 5 catches, 2 touchdowns. We're going to have to keep an eye on him.
He was almost undrafted in several leagues, like picked up in like the 14th round. It's
Yeah,
like, Manny
for
Sanders
sure.
is still alive.
But you put up numbers like that, I think you got to pay attention. And again, this is a great offense. So guess what? Dawson Knox, he's caught a touchdown 2 weeks in a row. As a tight end, that might as well be Hall of Fame numbers.
Almost all tight ends are touchdown reliant.
Yeah. So you have to play a guy like that. So pretty
sometimes-
much start a Bills offensive player if you can.
Fair enough. So you got the Colts playing the Miami Dolphins. Let's talk about Carson Wentz briefly. He played last week with 2 bum ankles against Tennessee. Only had 194 yards. Didn't have a pick. As far as I know, didn't turn the ball over, but he only had 7.76 points. So obviously you got to wait for Carson to do something, I don't know, playable worthy. Is that even a word?
No.
Anyway, but yeah, obviously you can't start that guy. Love Jonathan Taylor. Had a really good week 1, and just like, I guess it all comes down to quarterback and line play. Obviously, against Tennessee, he didn't do that well. Only had 64 yards on 10 carries. You go, oh, well, that's 6.4 per. That doesn't really matter when you're only getting 10 carries. You're not getting any end zone looks, right? Sorry. Sure. Can't really play Jonathan Taylor, but he's one of those running backs we talked about. Is he flex worthy? Probably. I don't hate this matchup necessarily against the Dolphins. They haven't been stellar. You go, okay, well, are any of these receivers startable? Pittman, maybe, in a flex. He's been into double digits and a half-point PPR over the last couple of weeks. Had 18 against the Rams, which isn't, that easy to do. Had over 100 yards. Had 123, actually. So Pittman is a guy I think is at least flex-worthy, depending on who else you have on your roster. First couple of weeks, Zach Pascal was a guy you could play. Had 3 touchdowns in those first 2 weeks. Last week against Tennessee, 4.1 points and a half-point PPR. Give him a look, I guess, depending on who else you have on your roster that's playable. I said roster, damn it. This is going to work out by the end of this show. Anyway, looking at the Miami Dolphins side, we've seen Jacoby Brissett have some fun in this league and actually have some success. Last week when he started over Tua, who's injured, and actually got the full game against Vegas, he had 20.3 points, which isn't bad. He did a lot better than a lot of quarterbacks in this league did last week. Would I play him against this Indy team? I would play him as a second quarterback in a super flex league. I would play him in a DraftKings or FanDuel or Yahoo league. Your redraft league, probably better options than Jacoby Brissett. So last week, Malcolm Brown got the start over Myles Gaskin because allegedly, they wanted to give him more work and get him more involved. So they gave him 7 carries. But he got the start. That's 31 yards. That's a 4.4. That's Barn Cat. That's good stuff.
That's a really good beer.
4.4 per. He actually got a touchdown as well. So Malcolm Brown, I loved him at the beginning of the season, thinking he was actually going to do more, that he actually had a chance to start, but it's not working out that way yet. Myles Gaskin actually had almost twice the amount of carries and almost twice the amount of yards as well, but he only had 8.9 points. Not loving what I'm seeing out of this Dolphins backfield. So I'm not saying don't start him because, you have to have running backs. I would start Gaskin in a flex spot at least. Brown, I want to wait and see. These receivers, I hear Devontae Parker's really lighting it up in practice, but we're not seeing it in the games. Fuller, who we're all excited to come see play, he's questionable today, didn't practice from an undisclosed something.
That's fun.
Isn't it? So I'm not really looking for Waddle or Parker to play in my game this week. Gesicki, I got to tell you, I was kind of excited to see him at the beginning of the year, and I was really excited to see him this last week against Vegas. Dude had 12 targets, caught 10 of them, right? 86 yards, didn't get into the end zone, but that's the only sign of life we've seen out of Gesicki so far this year. I'll allow it. Is he playable?
Probably not, but
He's one of those, if you're streaming tight ends, you play matchups, this probably isn't a bad one. The Colts pass D kind of sucks. They've given up 9 touchdown passes so far in the year. So Gesicki in a stream, sure.
Yeah, all right. We got the Washington football team taking on the you're going to
do what you just did.
Yeah, this is going to be a quick one, though. This is a football team versus the Falcons, bro. You better hurry up.
Take your time, bro.
So, the Washington football team. No. Taylor Heineke, obviously you're not going to start him. He has not been terrible football-wise. He's taken care of the football kind of when he's running it, but he's kind of terrible when he's throwing it. He has 3 interceptions his last 2 games and 4 touchdowns. Not a great ratio. He did run one in last week. Not that you would play him, but I'm excited about his future in the league, but his future is not present. That being said, they're playing the Atlanta Falcons. In a daily fantasy league, Heineke could actually have his best game of the season against the Falcons. So just keep that in mind. I know people are like, oh, you're going to talk about Washington's quarterback? Yeah, for that reason. Antonio Gibson, again, has not had the start to the season that we wanted. Only had 31 yards on 12 carries last week for 2.6. But he caught 1 pass for 73 yards and a touchdown. I'll allow it. It was first touchdown of the year, and it got us a little bit of point. I mean, Buffalo's got a good defense. This defense is not that. Continue to play him. McKissick did not have the week that he had before, because it was a different day, I guess a different team. Again, playing Atlanta in a PPR, I might flex him. Wow, I'm not even done talking about Washington. Scurry Terry had himself a bad day as well. Again, Buffalo's defense was tough. I would continue to play him. I wouldn't worry about it too much, especially against Atlanta. Logan Thomas has 2 touchdowns in 3 games as a tight end. That might as well be all-pro numbers. For sure, play him. From the Falcons side, Matt Ryan's a hard no. Dude, he did, throw for 2 touchdowns and 240 last week. They did win against the Giants. Okay, he had a 111 rating. He did lose a fumble. His days are over. Mike Davis's numbers are not bad. 12 for 50. That's 4.2, right? Also caught 4 passes on 4 targets for another 20 yards. I want to see him get more involved. The reason they're not is because Cordero Patterson apparently is a thing.
They're playing him all over the field, man.
He caught 6 passes, and he also ran the ball 7 times for 20 yards. He had 82 yards through the air. He caught a TD the week before and ran one in the week before. He's all over the field. I saw he's got. This is a terrible matchup for him. I don't know that I can sit this guy.
Really?
If our bar is flex, I would love to have this guy in my flex.
Absolutely.
Especially in a PPR. I don't know. I mean, he's got more fantasy points than Calvin Ridley does.
Don't question it, man. Just roll with it.
Calvin Ridley, double-digit targets 2 weeks in a row. He caught a touchdown the week before. Okay, but he's yet to crack a hundo, right? He's got only 1 TD on the year. I like the target numbers, but I want to see a little bit more, and this is probably not the matchup to do it. I mean, Washington's defense has not been as good as we thought they were coming in, but you have to remember, this is the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
It's not exactly great. Another person that Cordell Patterson has more fantasy points than, Kyle Pitts. It's not even close.
How many people drafted him in the 4th round, the 3rd round?
Crazy.
Not saying he's not going to be good. He's just not good now.
He's a freak athlete, but they're not using him the way that they should, or they can't get him the ball.
You got to figure when you
3
pick a
targets
guy,
last week. 3 targets.
When you pick a guy as high as they picked him,
Yeah.
he should be the focal point of at least a third of the offense.
I mean, you got to try to get him the football.
Yeah,
For sure. 3 targets last week, caught 2 of them. Here's the thing. He is unplayable. Till those numbers change, he's unplayable.
Show me a game. A game.
Show me something. Score a touchdown. I hear you. He's a tight end. Maybe you continue to roll with him for a 4th week. They're going to try to get him more involved. Again, this is not the defense to do it against. I hate to say it, guys,
I agree.
but that's where I am.
Well, even though Washington football team's defense has underperformed based on how everybody thought they were going to be, they still have good athletes and good players. Mm-hmm. So Seattle is playing the San Francisco 49ers in an NFC West tilt. Allegedly's the best division in football. We'll see.
I love that show.
I do love me some squirrely Dan. So obviously you can't play. Let's start with the Seahawks. Russell Wilson. Everybody's talking about are they going to trade him now to this team or that team?
No.
Is Russell Wilson? He's never going to leave Seattle, dude. They'd be crazy to let him go. Number one, who else is going to play? And number two, he's Russell Wilson. If he quit right now, if he retired right now, I think he wears a gold jacket. Maybe not in 5 years, but in 8.
I think he gets one. I don't think it's even that close.
No, I don't think
He's got
so
a
either.
ring, right? He's got a ring.
He's got a wing. He's got a wing.
A wing?
Have you the wing?
Have you the wing?
Marriage. That's a Princess Bride.
Twelve.
So cherish y'all.
That blessed arrangement. That dream.
Within a dweeb. I love that movie.
What a
dude.
great
I haven't
movie,
seen that in a while. I got to fire that
What
up.
a great movie. I took the wife to go see the 30th anniversary of it.
Oh, okay.
We went to the movie theater and watched because it was the very first movie we ever watched together on our first
Really?
date. It was.
How about that?
Yeah, and it was fantastic. They had commentary from Rob Reiner and Robin Wright, and it was just and Mandy Patinkin. And it was absolutely fantastic, man.
Love it.
Yeah, Carrie Elwes.
So anyway, he has a ring. So yeah, I think he's definitely in the hall at some point. So anyway, good first week, good second week. Last week he didn't do so great against Minnesota. Only had 1 touchdown and only 298 yards. Okay, did they get the dub? No, they did not. They actually got their asses handed to them. But it wasn't all Russell's fault. Part of the fault of this team is that, remember the old Legion of Boom was just awesome?
Oh, yeah.
Guess how many interceptions that team has through 3 games this year? Goose egg. 0. So anyway, it's not Russell's fault. You can't get rid of that guy. You may not want to play him every week, but I have him in a league, and I'm gonna play him until he has 3 bad games in a row, and then I'll look for other options. But he's put up too many good scores for me to abandon him. Chris Carson, dude is consistent if nothing else. He's gotten right around 13 to 15 points every week for the first 3. He's getting consistent carries, 12 to 16. He hasn't busted 100 yet, but the dude has 3 touchdowns on the year on the ground. Hasn't done much receiving of the ball, but we don't really expect that out of Carson. Mm-hmm. He's a guy you're going to plug into your RB2 spot and leave him there and be happy you got him. So we've seen Tyler Lockett go crazy week 1 and week 2. Week 3, not so much. Week 3, he was 4 out of 4 targets, 31 yards.
At least he caught him.
We kind of see this out of Lockett, where he blows up, and then kind of goes away for a couple weeks.
He's not a horrible flex, though. That's kind of what you want.
But the thing is he's going to go so big so often, you don't want to have him on your bench when he does that.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
You stick him in the flex and forget about it.
Throw him in the flex and shut up.
Yeah.
Basically.
Shut up.
DK Metcalf, kind of quiet week 2 against Minnesota. Not so quiet. A $1.07 and a tutty.
I hate you. Did you hear that the dude that does the Red Zone channel said tutty?
I love it. I absolutely. It's vindication.
I hate you.
Is what that is.
Nobody's ever going to say snee.
I know.
No.
But when other people are saying tutty or tutter, that just
tutter's even worse. It's like a worse version of tutty.
It warms me cockles.
Oh God.
And me muscles.
I think your cockles need warmed.
Yeah. Anyway, so Trey Sermon actually got the nod last week. Dude had 10 solid carries, had 31 yards.
That's 3.1 per.
That's good math out of you.
Thank you.
One touchdown out of him as well. Dude had 10 points. I kind of want to see more before I recommend him for a start.
He was not convincing.
He was not convincing at all.
To be honest.
Obviously, you're not going to play Jimmy G. Trey Lance, I'd really like to see what the kid could do with a full start, but Jimmy G's playing well enough. You're not going to see Trey Lance
Jimmy G just doesn't make that many mistakes.
He doesn't. That's why he's there. He manages the game. He gets the ball where he needs to get it. He hits the open man. He doesn't turn the ball over. So it's going to be hard for Trey to take that over. Now, maybe next year, they'll move on from Jimmy and Trey will get the start, or maybe Jimmy gets hurt, as he has a tendency to do.
They lost last week, but it was a tough game against the Packers, and Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers drove the field at the end.
When you leave 12-37, you're gonna get the L.
Yeah, it's just
Here's the thing. They had almost as many yards as the Bears had in their entire game in that last drive. Yeah, so I love Trey Lance as a keeper, but you can't play either of these quarterbacks. I guess you could play Jimmy G, if you're satisfied with, 18 points a game.
In a 2-quarterback league, I play him in a heartbeat.
I would absolutely play him as the second guy. Yeah. And he's going to get you enough points in a daily fantasy thing, and he's going to be cheap enough where you could play him. He's got weapons. He's not going to get you INTs.
Ayuk actually looked pretty dangerous, too. I know... everybody's been talking about Debo and where is Ayuk and stuff. I think Ayuk might be coming around.
Well, they said they were going to ease him in because he was coming back from his hammy. Basically, he had nothing week 1, of course. Mm-hmm. Against Philadelphia, he only had one catch for 2 yards. Mm-hmm. But against Green Bay, dude caught 4 out of 6 targets, had a touchdown. So they're bringing him back slowly. And
I liked what I saw out of him.
I'm going to play him. At least in a flex. I like that. Debo had a bit of a down game this week compared to weeks 1 and 2. I mean, he had 31 points week 1. Yeah, I know. Really nowhere to go but down from there.
Yeah, he might not score that all year.
$189 and a touchdown on 9 catches. So that was a half-point PPR. He had 31.4. I would continue to play him as well. Mohamed Sanu, dude. I mean, he's a guy that you forget about. It's easy to forget about that guy. And he only had 5 points, 3 catches for 36 yards. But as the third receiver in that offense, might not be a bad guy to pick up as a waiver get and just park him at the end of your bench. Because if one of these other two guys go down,
do you mean roster him?
You might want to put him on the roster.
We're so stupid. We're so childish. Need another one, man?
Do I have another one of these?
I think there's one back there. Want it?
If you can dig that bad boy out and do it in some sort of quick fashion, because I'm about to throw it to you. We saw George Kittle basically do nothing in weeks 1 and weeks 2. Week 3, 13.6 points. I like it. Dude had 92 yards on 7 catches. Did not get into the end zone. Beautiful. Thank you. But it's just a matter of time before Kittle gets there. He has been, in the past couple of years, the primary receiving target in that offense, but now there's more competition for that. So he's still one of the better tight ends in the league, and you absolutely have to play him on a two-week basis roster.
Well played, Kevin. In the game of the week of the month of the year, the unbeaten 3-0 Arizona Cardinals are traveling to Los Angeles to take on the unbeaten 3-0 Los Angeles Rams.
That's 6 wins, no losses.
I don't know about you, Kevin, but this is one I'm going to change Red Zone channel to this game for the afternoon game for sure.
Well, I have a feeling that this game is going to dominate the Red Zone channel anyway.
Maybe, but I'm just I geek out about the matchups and stuff, and this is going to be great. And I can't be more excited for Arizona
Sure.
because they've often had a bad team, and since Kurt Warner really, now they have a young quarterback who's exciting, who's seems like he's got good head on his shoulders. And
they have a mediocre running game, but some great receivers.
And conversely, you have the Rams, who have been kind of teetering, didn't really work out with
Went
Goff.
to a Super Bowl, got their asses handed to them.
Right. Matty Stafford comes in. I'm happy for him. He's not on the Lions.
You know what I saw the other day? Remember in his rookie year where he dislocated his shoulder?
Shoulder, yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute, we have a timeout? That means I can go play. And they're like, no, stay down. He's like, yeah, get the hell out of my way. Get your hands off of me. And he runs in. He's like, I can throw. It's my left shoulder. Throws a touchdown to win it. And then runs out. He's like, oh, my arm.
Yeah.
It popped back in, but ow, it hurts.
Yeah. What a badass.
He's a baller.
He is a baller, and he's balling out. So this is going to be a good one. Kevin, let's talk about Kyler Murray. Didn't throw a touchdown pass this week. He had 7 prior to that, but he still threw for 300. He also ran one in, which he's done every single week of the season.
Yeah.
Pretty much, he's certainly an MVP candidate. He might not be a front runner at this moment, but he's certainly in the conversation. And
a lot of football left to play.
Definitely going to start him. From the running backs, Kevin mentioned, Chase Edmonds has done absolutely all. In a PPR, he hasn't been horrible. Again, he caught 7 passes last week for 49 yards, 26 on the ground.
ABV 7.5.
Oh, you're basically, once you finish that, you're 4 beers deep.
Pretty much.
Essentially. You're 4 Miller Lights
With
deep.
three beer. Well,
roughly, you're 4 Miller Lights in. Anyway, you're fine.
Cheers.
Yeah, you're fine. You're not going anywhere. So, in a PPR, I think I would continue to play Edmonds. Outside of that, I would not. However, I think there was a dynamic shift last week against Jacksonville. They played Tennessee and Minnesota, decent defenses week 1 and 2. James Conner came in last week on 11 carries and scored twice. I like that. So I think
he was just chopping up big chunks of yards, 7, 8, 9 at a time.
He was. He finished with only 43, but he got in that end zone twice. I think we're seeing Edmonds, the pass back, Conner, the short yardage and running back.
That's what we saw when Drake was there, dude. It was the same way. Edmonds is a good back, but he's not a good every down back. Yeah.
So I think we might see a little bit of a shift here. So keep an eye on that. Again, Conner, I don't know, that maybe a flex. This is a very, very tough defense to play against. Edmonds, I would still start in a PPR. The wide receivers are obviously fantastic. D-Hop had a bad week 3, but you're going to continue to play him. He had scored 3 times in the previous 2 games. Christian Kirk is pretty much unsittable as a flex in a PPR.
It's weird.
Outside, 2 touchdowns week 1. Week 2, he caught 3 for 65. It's 9 points in the PPR. Not great, but again, it's a flex. And week 3, 7 for $1.04. I'm all over that. 17 points as a flex. I'll allow it. Rondelle Moore, he was the hot waiver wire target of the week. He caught 2 passes for 1 yard. And that is not a typo.
That's how that goes, baby.
Yeah, he also ran the ball once for 3 yards and fumbled. He recovered it, though. AJ Green.
People forget about AJ.
Caught 5 passes for 112 yards. This is 2 weeks in a row. Previous week, he only had 44 yards, but he did catch a touchdown. You catch 112 yards worth of passes.
I'm playing you.
I think he's a flex.
I will find a place for you on my roster.
Terrible matchup. So don't judge it based on this week. If you have a better option, that's fine in your flex this week. And they play San Fran the following week and Cleveland after that. So it might be rough. But when they get to Houston in week 7,
Smooth sailing.
Watch out for A.J. Green. Let me tell you that right now.
I got you.
Obviously, we're not going to start any of the tight ends because they don't catch passes. They got enough weapons. From the Rams side, I almost said Lions because I was looking at Matt Stafford.
Yeah, well, that'll happen.
Yeah, he's been over 100 rating in every single game. He's got 1 pick on the entire year. He threw 4 touchdowns last week, 5 the previous 2. He's on 9.
One of those quarterbacks who's going to far outplay his ADP.
He is playing fantastic. And mind you, that was against Tampa, who does not have a bad defense.
No.
And they, remind me, they won that game. So Matty Stafford is balling out, and I would 100% play him
100.
every single week until
So what you're saying
further
is
notice. Roster him.
You'd put him in your...
I would put him in my roster. Darrell Henderson is apparently back at practice, so keep an eye on that.
That hurt.
What did?
Not having him.
Oh, yeah. So apparently he's back. Sony Michelle carried the ball 20 times last week. So if you're a Michelle owner, you're kind of, Darrell, take another week off.
Take your time, bud.
It's all good. But he only had 67 yards, did not get in the end zone. He also caught 3 passes. Meh. I'll go ahead.
There's
and
a
fade
reason
him.
he was not the feature back where he was or where he is.
Right. A couple other people I might want to mention here. Bobby Trees, hard pass. Don't know why, but 3 weeks in a row, it's not happening, and this team is succeeding. They're scoring points.
There's no need to change.
Stafford threw 4 touchdowns last week. Bobby Trees had 3 catches for 33 yards. Cooper Kupp, on the other hand.
Do you think it's that he's, the play calling is going away from Robert Woods?
I think it's a coverage thing.
Maybe.
I think it's. I don't think it has anything to do other than Kupp was lined up on the right.
Is he
guy
having
at
a
the
hard
right
time getting open?
No.
It's
No, I just think Kupp's in the right place at the right time. I think it's a coverage scheme thing.
Maybe.
Right? They got him lined up at the right thing. The linebacker cheats. The safety moves the other way. Kupp's open. That's what I think it is. And I think it will shift. And I think that
it's almost going to have to because Kupp is having way too much success.
they're going to start blanketing him. I mean, he was over 100 weeks 1 and 2. Unfortunately, he didn't crack that number in week 3, but he did have 96 yards and 2 touchdowns, which he did the week before as well. He's been double-digit targets in every week. And, in fact, they've gone up incrementally. 10 week 1, 11 week 2, 12 targets week 3.
The very definition of incrementally.
It's just fantastic. And I got to be honest, man. Higbee was banged up, but he returned right back to form. I don't know if he was hurt, but he had a bad week 2. But he returned right back to form in week 3. I love him as a tight end. Only 5 catches on 5 targets for 40 yards.
Sure.
In PPR, that's 9. But he caught a touchdown. I'm all over it. Basically, start your Rams. Start everybody in this game. Honestly.
Start them all. So you have Pittsburgh in a game that you're not going to start them all. You have Pittsburgh against the Packers. Dude, the big story this last week was, is Ben done? I don't know if Ben is done, but Ben is hanging on by a toenail because...
He's done.
I mean...
This should be his last.
The guy is clearly a Hall of Famer. He should have hung him up at the end of last year because last year wasn't great either. And I understand wanting to come back and have one last hurrah, hang out with the guys, be on the team, all that. I get that. Plus, he's making millions of dollars doing it, so why the hell not? But we saw this last week, and you look at the numbers and you go, well, he had 318 yards.
Yeah.
He had 65% completion rating.
Yeah.
He only had 1 touchdown, did throw 2 picks.
Yeah.
But he does not look. Did you see the one where he's kind of facing the right side of the line, throws the pass and just kind of collapses in the backfield?
I know exactly what you're talking about, yeah. It's weird.
It's like, I was never really a huge Roethlisberger fan, but from a fantasy perspective, he was always money. And he's not money now.
Yeah, he was a guy that you could play, right? He was a Phillip Rivers.
Right. He used his feet to make to make time for his receivers to get open, yada yada yada. But you just can't trust the guy. And I'll take 318 yards and a touchdown. It's not great. I think it was like 15 and a half points. But out of my quarterback spot, I'm looking for 20. And he's just not the guy to get you there. And the guys who are surrounding him, obviously, you're going to play Najee Harris. I mean, that guy's playing out of his mind for the most part, and he is a feature back in Pittsburgh. And
they're just giving him the ball so much.
Yeah, they're committed to the run. I mean, there's no question about that. 16 carries in his first ever game, then 10, then 14, right? And then he's targeted 3, 5, and 19 targets last week. Dude had 14 catches last week against Cincinnati for 102 yards.
It's crazy.
Targeting your running back 19 times, bro.
The defense allows it.
It's crazy.
Again, that's another one of those coverage things.
Right. So you're obviously going to play Najee Harris.
He caught 14 of them?
Got 14.
Yeah, that's
crazy numbers in a PPR.
How many yards do you have?
Receiving. Like over 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you just...
So why wouldn't you do that?
He's wide open. You just throw him the football.
And it's check down time. Deontay Johnson was out last week with a knee, still
now
questionable.
Juju's banged up too, so...
That dude has ribs. Claypool had a decent game last week. He ended up with 14 points, 96 yards, didn't get into the end zone. One of the reasons why Cincinnati took the dub. Juju had a decent week too, I guess, but he's almost droppable at this point, given Ben's play and the fact that Juju is, the third option now? I guess if you wanted to play Ebron or Freiermuth, zero expectations out of those guys. Aaron Rodgers, obviously if you got that dude, you're going to play him. I don't see how anybody can. I mean, he only had 18.5 points last week, 261 yards, a couple touchdowns, obviously. But how can you sit Aaron Rodgers?
You
dude?
don't.
You can't.
Well, you can.
You shouldn't. All right, so the Steelers run to
might.
Looking at Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon.
Yeah.
Love Aaron Jones, dude. He actually won me a game on Monday night against Brian's Lions.
Yep.
Dude scored 4 touchdowns.
4 TDs.
Like, thank you,
4
AJ.
sneeze.
But dude, the Steelers run D, they have yet to give up a touchdown on the ground.
Yeah, they've been really good, but I don't know that they've faced someone of that caliber yet.
True,
so,
maybe that's true. I mean, Mixon doesn't suck.
No, he doesn't. But week 1 they had Buffalo.
Right.
So
it was Singletary, right? So they're only giving up 88 yards a game, no touchdowns allowed. So not a great matchup for Jones. Not telling you to sit him. Of course you're going to play him, but temper your expectations there. The Steelers pass D, giving up over 260 yards per game, only has 1 pick on the season. You're going to play Devontae Adams, absolutely. Marquez Valdez-Scantling has a hammy. He's questionable. Choose the other guys at your own risk. I'm not going to recommend any of them. It's really Devontae Adams. Robert Tonyan has yet to have a red zone target, but he will catch it. He has a touchdown on the year. So as tight ends go, he's probably, the 10th best tight end in the league.
Again,
but it's a crapshoot.
Unless you have one of the top guys.
Yeah, you're going to suck.
It's a dice roll, dude. Baltimore Ravens taking on the Denver Broncos.
The 3-0.
Undefeated Denver Broncos.
They have a pretty good roster.
Congratulations, Meat Horse. I don't think it's going to last past this week, especially with the Ravens' luck and Justin Tucker out there.
Hey, the Ravens have not looked great.
They have not, but they're 2-1.
Well, they're 2-1 because of a record-setting kick that hit the crossbar. Now, it counts.
It counts.
But the Lions basically beat them. Justin Tucker saved their bacon.
If the Lions would have beat them, the game would have been over. So
you know what I'm saying.
I do, but it's not the way it worked out.
It's not the way it worked out.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is in the game, the Ravens didn't dominate the Lions like you would think they would.
I understand, but the week before that, they beat Kansas City.
Which is weird. I mean,
NFL math doesn't work out.
No, it's all about matchups.
Yeah,
and what you're preparing for.
Doesn't work. So, and they lost a nail biter in overtime against the Raiders week 1.
Mm-hmm.
So,
the 3-0 Raiders.
Yeah,
who have won 3 games against teams with at least 10 wins the year before.
Yeah.
Silver
Might be a
black,
good football team. I don't know. Anyway, Lamar Jackson, you're going to continue to play. Only 1 touchdown last week. It's not the kind of numbers I'm looking for. 287 through the air. He's thrown 1 touchdown exactly in every single week. He also has 3 interceptions in the last 2 games.
Getting a couple of receivers back this week.
Yeah.
On their roster.
Maybe that'll help. I don't know. The only one I care about is Hollywood, but we'll talk about him in a minute. Tyson Williams did not play well at all, or Tyson Williams. The apostrophe throws me off. I don't know how to enunciate.
And then you got a capital letter in the middle of a word. It's weird.
Totally messed me up. Well, my grandfather's like that too. His name's McLeod. His last name's McLeod. So he's got it's a M little C capital L E-O-D, McLeod. And
from the clan McLeod.
Yeah, he's Scottish. Yeah. Anyway, guy had a touchdown week 1. We were like, yay. Maybe he's the guy, because everybody on Baltimore is hurt.
It was a nice touchdown too. It was like a 20-yarder.
It was a very nice scamper. It might have been a 35-yarder.
Okay.
And then week 2, he had 77 yards, ran for 5.9 per. Also caught 16 yards worth of passes. Week 3, it was just not there. I don't know what to do with this guy. They're not using Tavius Murray either. All of a sudden, the number 1 running team in the NFL isn't running. I mean, Jackson only had 58 yards rushing last week.
Well, when you lose your top 4 running backs, it's kind of hard to keep up that mantle.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, they have people though. Just give them the football. Hollywood, again, this was a bad game for them, but Hollywood had scored in the previous 2. You had 100 in week 2 against KC. I'll allow it. Sammy Watkins seems to be middling as he does.
As he does.
So I'm not hugely into him. Mark Andrews, I'm very disappointed in, although he did have 100 yards.
He did do better
last week, but it still hasn't scored. Right, I need this guy to get in the end zone.
Yeah, tight ends need to score to keep their worth up.
You get 5 targets a game. I need you to catch a touchdown, bro. But 100 yards, I'll allow it. Obviously, we're going to continue to play him, but I'm not psyched about playing any of these Ravens. From the Denver side, Roosevelt has been super solid. Did not throw a touchdown pass last week, but they did obviously rout the Jets. Didn't need it. Only threw for 235. He's been okay, and he's a great fill-in quarterback at times, but I wouldn't hang my hat on him. Melly Mel has scored in 2 out of 3. He's getting. He had 18 carries last week. I'll allow that. Only 61 yards on those. He also has a 100-yard game on the season. He's probably a solid RB for your flex, maybe even an RB2. We did see an RB2, sorry. We did see Javonte Williams get into the end zone last week.
Kind of nice to see that.
12 for 29 on the ground, 2.4 per. Not what I'm looking for. Did catch 3 passes for 33. He also lost a fumble. I don't know what to make of that. Melly Mel, in my opinion, is still the top dog here in this backfield. I would hold off on Williams for another week at least to see what happens. I don't know how this team is 3-0.
Good defense, dude.
Yeah, that's really what it is. Sutton only caught 5 passes last week. The week before he blew up against Jacksonville, maybe he'll do that again. I'm guessing that he's going to be a solid wide receiver flex for the season. Same kind of thing for Tim Patrick. He had scored the previous 2 weeks. I like him more than Sutton right now. I think I have to. He had 98 yards last week on 5 catches. That's actually the most he's caught in a game all year. He had 3 and 4 respectively before that. So I would play him in a flex in a heartbeat, but these are all flexes. Same thing with Noah Fant.
Excuse me.
He had scored week 2. Week 3, he only caught 2 passes for 15 yards. Again, I think he's extremely talented, but the numbers just don't support him being one of those guys that you can trust at the tight end spot. I think he's going to be hit or miss as well.
Concur. All right, so you got Tampa, you got New England, right? Tampa's going to New England. Tom Brady's returning home, blah, blah, blah. That's really the end of the compelling story here. The Patriots suck. Mac Jones not playing good football. Tampa Bay took an L out of Los Angeles, but they're still one of the premier teams in the league. This just in. Dude, Tom Brady, 44 years old, right? I think is the oldest quarterback to start a game at this point, isn't he? Dude has 10 touchdowns on the year in 3 games.
Really?
I don't know. Maybe George Blanda had to start at 46 or something, but dude has 379 yards, 276 yards, 432 yards in a loss last week against the Rams. 10 touchdowns, like I said, only 2 picks. and the dude's 44.
He's fantastic, man.
So
He's the
he
GOAT,
was
and it's not
basically
even close.
drafted late. Should have been drafted, I don't know, first.
Yeah, but
at this point,
well, I mean, but the thing is, you can't. I mean, nobody's going to do that. I mean, who would draft him over Mahomes?
nobody. But obviously, I mean, he's going to outplay his ADP as well as everybody, as he's done most of his career.
Which is why we tell you guys to wait on quarterbacks.
Wait on quarterbacks.
Find them
Because
late,
you can get Stafford in the 8th or 9th or 10th round.
who is fantastic right now. Who's also, by the way, in the MVP conversation.
Sure.
For sure.
Both of these guys
Which is
are.
crazy.
If it ended right now, it would probably be Brady. Just because of mostly of the fact that, well, who else?
Oh, man, Kyler Murray's looked really good.
Yeah, he has.
You know, I'm not.
There's a handful of guys you could talk about.
Derek Carr's looking really good, man.
Derek Carr has looked pretty good.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
We're about to talk about Derek Carr.
We are. Really, you look at these running backs. Ronald Jones really isn't startable.
No.
Fournette hasn't really had a great game over 10 points. He's not really startable either. I'd like to be able to. I mean, this team should be a team that actually gets you a decent amount of points. But then you got a guy like Gio Bernard who pops in last week and gets 16 and a half points. Dude caught a touchdown and, had a couple of runs and, you can't really play him. I mean, he's questionable with a knee, but you wouldn't play him anyway because he's what they call a situational back, right? So it's not Rojo, it's not Fournette, and you can't really play Gio. Look for your running backs elsewhere. Patriots pass D stinks on ice, dude. 479 yards total given up over the course of the season already. They do have 5 picks, though, which is kind of weird to see. Mike Evans, obvious play. Chris Godwin, obvious play. Brown would probably be at least flex-worthy if he didn't have the Rona, or if he wasn't on COVID protocol.
Protocol. You can't say that, allegedly.
Don't know if he has the Rona or not, but he was out last week on the the COVID protocol, and he's still out. So he may actually be positive. Not saying he is, just saying.
Can't say that, Kevin.
Sure I can.
Allegedly.
Because if you're on it for more than a week, you might have to question that. Scotty Miller's on IR. You can't play him, obviously. Gronk is questionable. If he plays, you absolutely have to play
For
that
sure.
guy.
I mean, how is he doing it?
Dude, he's the same age as Travis Kelce. That's how he's doing
No, I
it.
understand that, but he's been a lot more beat up than Travis.
A few
Kelce
more
was.
miles on his
Yeah.
frame than on Travis
For sure.
Kelce's.
He's played a lot more games than Travis Kelce has.
Well, true.
Well, he was active. Well,
dude, he has
hurt a lot too.
You look at it this way. Just in playoffs, Gronk and Brady have like a couple of extra seasons on them just because they're in the playoffs every year.
For sure, yeah.
And going deep every year.
Yeah.
From the Patriots side, you can't play Mac Jones, obviously.
No, he's almost undroppable at this point, too, in a keeper league.
You mean unkeepable? Well, he's almost droppable.
In a keeper league. I
Yeah.
mean, you wouldn't keep him in a redraft, obviously. I mean, you wouldn't have him on your roster in a redraft.
Right. If you do.
But I do have both him and Trevor Lawrence in our main money league, which is a keeper league. And I'm kind of like...
It's time to make a choice, bro.
I'm kind of like...
And that choice is drop them both.
Well, I also have Jameis Winston on my bench because I have Josh Allen. So I have 4 quarterbacks in that league, and I'm waiting for somebody to stick their head out and go, all right, I'm going to be the guy.
Okay, who's going to suck the least?
I'm about to drop all of them.
Darnold may be available.
Probably not.
Probably
not
not.
in that league.
Not in the league I'm in, pal. I'd love to play Damian Harris, but he's just not getting it done. This whole team, because the quarterback is bad and because basically the whole team kind of sucks, it's hard to play anybody. We've heard about Jacoby Myers this year being a guy that's playable. We finally saw something out of him.
We did.
Dude had 9 catches out of 14 targets and almost 100, had 94.
I like those target numbers.
Not yet in the end zone, but I really like 14 targets out of him. But it's Mac Jones throwing him the football. So maybe him in a flex. It's not a great matchup, as we know. But here's the thing. The Bucs pass D has given up, the only team in the league so far to have given up a total of over 1,000 yards. To be fair, they have played Matt Stafford and Patrick Mahomes. They've given up 9 touchdowns and have 4 picks. So not a great matchup, of course, in any stretch of the imagination and in any facet for these Patriots. But Jacoby Myers may be in a flex. They're going to throw the football, and they're going to target him like crazy. So maybe take a shot at him in a DFS or in a flex. And that's pretty much it for this New England Patriots team, dude, which is weird to say.
But
after all these years.
That's the way it is.
Of playing people on their team.
Roster. Oh, you could have just said it. All right, the last game of the week of the month of the year.
It's going to be a good one.
Is the Raiders Chargers.
It's going to be for the...
A 3-0 team against a team that should be 3-0.
This is for the lead in the AFC West.
Yeah, it would be. It would put Chargers a half game up if they win.
It would both be 3-1 with the Chargers getting the win.
And they're playing in L.A., which used to be the Raiders' home, but is not, and used to not be the Chargers' home, but now is.
So a lot of Raiders fans are going to be in evidence.
For sure. And Derek Carr, we just mentioned him before. He's been over 300 every single week. He had 400 week 1. He's thrown exactly 2 TDs in every game.
Yeah.
He's got only 2 INTs on the season. He has fumbled 3 times, but he recovered all of them. I don't know what to say. I think he's a start, bro.
Got to play him.
I think he's probably a really good start.
The Monday nighter. Tough to play a guy on Monday night, but
Jacobs, this is going to be a tough one for you guys because it's a Monday night game and he's probably going to be a game time decision.
So unless you have
Peyton Barber,
not
Barber Kenyon Drake.
Not Drake.
No. Drake had 8 carries for 24. Peyton Barber had 23 carries for 111 and a touchdown.
Well, I told you before last week what Gruden said.
Yeah.
Tell us about the opportunities for Kenyon Drake. Well, Peyton Barber is going to have a lot of opportunities.
Right.
He was not lying.
We should have read into that.
You mean trust a coach on his word?
I know. If Jacobs plays, you play him, right? If you got Barber and Jacobs and you picked up Barber to back him up, you play Jacobs if Jacobs active. If not, I think Peyton Barber's a good play. They gave him the ball 23 times. Any
running back that gets the ball 23 times, you got to play him.
That. I can't ignore it, man. I just can't.
You can't.
The receivers, Ruggs has been fairly active. He's probably not a bad WR2 in a PPR or a flex for sure. Bryan Edwards, kind of the same. Not a lot of targets, not a lot of catches.
Only in the fourth quarter, though.
But the guy's he's putting up numbers. Third and Renfro is a thing now.
Dude, I played Renfro last week and was pleasantly surprised.
77 yards and a snake. I mean, I'll allow it. I mean, it's not. These aren't massive numbers. These are wide receiver 2s, flexes, things like that. But
you need to fill those spots too,
for sure. And Darren Waller's cooled off since his 19 target, 10 catch week 1.
Yeah, I think it was weird that he got targeted that many times anyway.
But he's had 7 targets and 5 catches in each game since. And as a tight end, those aren't terrible numbers. He will get back in the end zone, I have no doubt. From the Chargers side, good God.
Lots to love.
First of all, Justin Herbert is fantastic. He just really is, man. I really like this kid.
How'd you like to be Justin Herbert rich in Los Angeles?
It's not a bad place to be rich. Yeah, he's a decent-looking kid. He's got good hair, good teeth. Solid complexion.
Fat-ass wallet.
Yeah. 300 week 1 and 2. Got very unlucky week 2 and didn't pull out a win. Week 3, 125 rating. He had 281, 4 touchdowns.
Yeah,
he's only sacked once. He's fantastic. I would continue to play him all season long.
He was deemed a project coming out of college.
He's just
in the hell? And you got Mac Jones. He's the most pro-ready quarterback to come out of this draft, and he sucks.
It's just all about opportunity allegedly. But Herbert's 6'6". The big, tall dude.
That doesn't hurt.
And you can see it. He's got the confidence. And it doesn't hurt that he has a guy by the name of Austin Eckler who is not hurt right now.
He's got a bunch of guys named a bunch of different things.
Yeah. He had 55 yards on 11 carries last week. That's 5 per. And then he had 6 catches on 6 targets. By the way, he caught 9 passes on 9 targets the week before and a TD. In a PPR, he's a top 5 running back.
If you look at my list, my draft list from PPR, he was, I think, my 6th running back.
Yep.
People were like, number 6, Austin Eckler. I'm like,
when healthy, he's fantastic. Dude, he tore his hamstring off the bone last year.
And he does a weekly show with our favorite Yahoo person, Liz Lawson.
He does. What's funny is I just got a question in the chat earlier that said, I just traded Amari Cooper for Mike Williams. Thinks it's a good trade. Do you think it's a good trade?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of do. I kind of do.
Preseason, I've been like, are you crazy? Mike Williams?
12 targets, 10 targets, 9 targets, 8 catches, 7 catches, 7 catches, 4 touchdowns on the year. He's got last week over 100, but week 1 he was 82. Week 2 he was 91 yards.
Well, the whole thing about Williams has been he's awesome. He's an awesome receiver, but he's wildly inconsistent.
Right.
Not this year.
3 weeks in a row. Now, if he has 2 catches, for nothing this week, because that's possible. Maybe the defense will shift. It's going to be disappointing for them because Keenan Allen's on the other side.
They're going to shift away from Keenan Allen?
Yeah, they're going to have trouble.
All right.
It's not like Keenan has had a bad year. He's got 2 100 yards games. He's got a touchdown. He has 2 double-digit target games. And the game that he didn't have double-digit targets, he had 8.
So what you're saying is you'd play both of these receivers?
Fairly, yes. We're not going to play Cook or any of the tight ends, but this is going to be a fantastic. We don't get a lot of good Monday night games.
I'm excited.
This is going to be a good Monday night game, and those be your games, bitches.
That's right.
Oh wait, we do have one question.
Oh.
Walrus Warrior 007 says, Thursday question. Hey, I got a question about my lineup that involves the Thursday game this week. So for my flex, who do you think? Do I go Damian Harris versus Tampa Bay? Antonio Brown at New England.
COVID protocol.
Yeah, maybe. Marvin Jones at Cincinnati. Or Kareem Hunt at Minnesota.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's Kareem Hunt.
We got a winner.
Yeah, it's Kareem Hunt.
Is that it?
Yeah. I love you guys, and I mean it.
Whew.
I do mean it.
You could have just said, hey, by the way, dude, play Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, I know. But I just wanted to throw it out. I knew what you were going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, are you kidding me? It's crazy that he's one of the best running backs in the NFL.
And he's the second
And
guy.
he's the number 2 guy. He really is that good, though.
You know why he's the second guy on that roster?
Yeah, because Nicky Chubb is...
Also on that roster.
Yeah. Where is he? I didn't hear you, Kevin. You got a little something left in there?
He's on that roster.
Pound it, pound it, pound it.
Ooh. Alcohol is my favorite sport.
And,
You gonna play Among Us tonight, man?
maybe.
Is that a no?
No, I might. I
We
was
haven't seen you in a week.
hoping to go home and eat some dinner and play a little New World and then go to sleep.
Yeah, I gotta get into the new world. New game, Amazon
Amazon.
Games' first foray into the
So far, it's
massive
pretty
multiplayer. Blah, blah,
So
blah.
far, it's pretty fun, but I could see it getting tedious real fast.
Well,
There's a part of it that's walking simulator.
you ever play RuneScape back in the day?
Oh yeah.
The thing about RuneScape was, and somebody said, I anticipate me chopping down trees for the first 2 weeks. You kind of have to do that.
Yeah.
You know, you have to build up your points and all that kind of
Valheim
stuff.
was the same way.
Yeah, but you're doing that so you can build stuff as opposed to you need to have a certain level to be able to chop down a certain tree to be able to make a certain thing.
Well, that's true. That's this.
yeah, that's
for sure.
that's RuneScape.
Yeah.
It's every multiplayer,
Yeah.
online
It's an
game.
MMO.
So,
But it's cool. You can toggle PvP on and off. You don't have to PvP. You can just PvE if you want. There's some cool stuff. I died today.
did you?
I did.
What happened?
I ran up against some kind of crazy big
No, I don't
wolf.
care about that. I mean, like, did you respawn? Did you keep all your stuff? Did you lose all
Yeah,
your stuff?
so
What?
it's like Warcraft.
all your stuff just kind of sits there?
No. When you die, all your stuff gets damaged.
Ah, okay.
So
You have to
don't-
repair your
you don't-
armor.
Yeah, you don't lose anything.
Cool. I bought
Which-
the game
which-
yesterday, but I
which
didn't dive
bothers
in.
me a little bit because I'm used to Tarkov, whereas you die, it's just
It's over.
devastating. Yeah, you're like, man, I hope that guy doesn't take all my stuff, and they always do.
But they always do. Well, otherwise, why kill somebody?
Yeah, but sometimes they'll get killed too, and they won't make it out of the raid.
Right. And if you were in a bush, maybe you can go back and get some of your stuff.
No, you can't. Not in Tarkov.
Oh, that's right. You're done.
Yeah, you're done.
You're
That's it.
oot.
That's it.
All right, speaking of Oot, we are Oot.
Yeah.
We'll
Peace
be
out.
back on Saturday
Saturday.
morning.
Love you, I mean it.
We'll be back then to talk about Week 4 stuff and answer your questions.
Yeah, ought to be
And
good.
apparently, Buzz tells me between 10 and 2 on Friday, a package will be arriving.
Friday?
And he said, I'm not allowed to open it until the show on Saturday.
Ooh, I'm excited.
I was intrigued, was the word I used. I was intrigued.
Think something from Angie's in there.
Maybe.
Like
Maybe.
a Cowboys hat or something.
Something. Because Angie said we couldn't open it until the show.
Yeah, there's some
Buzz
Cowboys.
didn't say we couldn't
Oh,
open it.
it's from the game the other day.
It might have been.
Oh.
You know what? He said something about some beer from his so that would be cool. Maybe, some barbecue sauce would also be cool. But if there's
Listen.
cowboy stuff in there,
We will take it out back, pour lighter fluid on it, and burn it.
I know. I won't. I will take it right in there in that room and use it to, well,
Scrub the toilet.
sure. All right. Check
right.
you Saturday morning.
It's one game,
your,
Angie.
your Thursday
Dust
nighter.
off your VHS tapes.
Yeah.
Enjoy your Troy Aikman Super Bowl wins.
All right. Bye.
Love you, man. See you.
All right, Twitchers. We are out.
Oot. I gotta pee, dude.